Welcome to the Real Estate Espresso Podcast, your morning shot of what's new in the world of real estate investing. I'm your host, Victor Menasce. Today is another AMA episode, that is, Ask Me Anything. I love to answer your questions, and if you have a question you think is going to be of broad interest, send it in. I'll answer it live on the air. Send your questions to victor@victorjm.com. That's victor@victorjm.com. This question comes from Paul in Northern Florida, who asks, first of all, I'd like to thank you for your work on your show. The broad range of subjects and guests has made this a daily must-listen to for me, so thank you again. I'd like to ask your thoughts on product research for new residential construction. While I'm not a developer and have no intention of becoming one, I do want to do a couple of projects. I would like to build a couple of new homes for my children and myself. Over the years, I've seen various products and systems on TV shows like This Old House, but when you go to local retail building suppliers, they would not have any knowledge of the systems. I've come to figure out that many of these are regional products only. I live in Florida, where temperatures are regularly in the high 90s and humidity is very high. We have our own regional issues, hurricanes, mold issues, termites, and so on. I know I'm going to study the building codes and practices to build something correctly. I've tried to gather information at non-retail building supply stores, as well as national construction trade shows, but I've been met with the "you're not a licensed contractor" answer, and we only deal with contractors. I've also tried reaching out to the local Regional Builders Association, and they just refer me to other contractors who just want my business. I can find basic information like insulated concrete foundations versus poured concrete, zip wrap versus traditional, various forms of insulating, and so on, but I want to dig further and see some of the most beneficial new products that might be a better fit. Since I'm doing this for myself, I don't want to base things on cost alone and what's the cheapest. I will work with a licensed architect for the actual design and engineering aspects, but I'd like to do the research and educate myself reasonably before I just randomly ask them for ideas. Since I'm not in the trades, I'm not sure where I would find new product information or ideas that might be beneficial to the project, other than just searching on the internet or new building ideas. I'd appreciate your thoughts and opinion. Well, Paul, thank you for the kind words, and this is a great question. You are correct. The state of Florida has strict licensing requirements for contractors for any work above $500, which is basically everything. The state does have an exemption that allows an owner to build their own residential home, not exceeding 2 stories without a license. Construction has become a lot more technical in recent years, and the days of buying some lumber and swinging a hammer, they're long gone. If you're looking for information, I'm going to say that the internet is still the best place to start, but it's full of dead-end searches. Products are not universally available, as you've already discovered, and some are not suitable for certain applications, like you already pointed out. For example, in Florida, very few homes are built with basements because of soil stability and high water table. The entire state is made up of silty material. Crushed stone that is used for building roadbeds and stabilizing the foundation is usually brought in from Georgia by rail. So insulated concrete foundation is a technology that would be more useful in a northern climate like where I live in Canada, but definitely not in Florida. The high humidity environment can cause rotting of wood and insect damage. Both are very real problems. Using material that is resistant to these threats is important. This is when you want to start looking at advanced materials for the building envelope. The industry standard Tyvek wrap from DuPont is still a great product for use in Florida. You want to use siding material that's moisture resistant and storm resistant. In Florida, I would recommend looking at cement board siding, but I would choose the product from Allura instead of James Hardie. The Allura product is 50% thicker and simply more weather resistant. The problem in high humidity environments is threefold: keeping the moisture out, number 2, dealing with condensation due to temperature gradients, and number 3, ensuring that something dries out if it does get wet. All 3 of these can be sources of mold, which you want to avoid at all costs, and that means choosing mold-resistant materials. There's lots of educational videos on YouTube for all of these types of products. The most important material choice, and often the most overlooked, is the air barrier. The building code calls for a vapor barrier. This is usually a plastic barrier that is 0.06 of an inch thick. The problem with a vapor barrier is it can trap moisture if it gets inside the wall cavity. The best product out there, in my opinion, is made in Europe, and it's an air barrier, not a vapor barrier. The product is called Intello Plus. It's expensive, and it's several $100s a roll. These are a couple of tips to get you started. When you perform a search, for example, if you search for Intello, not only will you find information about Intello, you'll find information about Certainteed, which is a competitor product. I do recommend that you talk to the pro desk at the big box stores. Simply walk up to them and start asking for product recommendations. Sign up for their Pro Loyalty Card program. Look the part. Wear the work boots, not running shoes. And if they don't carry Intello at the Pro Desk, then ask them if they have the lower cost alternative called Certainteed. You can ask the Pro Desk what choices they would recommend for storm protection on windows, what type of synthetic decking material, what kind of roofing material, how to anchor a screen porch, and so on. They've got binders upon binders with product brochures. And generally, I find them to be very helpful. Take a photograph with your phone and then you can complete the research online. In my experience, the contractor thing should not be a barrier to information. In fact, you will often find the big box stores often have the best prices, but they also can be a source of great information. Typically, the big box stores only carry about 10% of their products in the store itself. The rest they will have to order. So it really is worth spending time with the pros at the Pro Desk. And then finally, also find that the architects can be a source of great information, in particular, the architects that specialize in building custom homes. And again, if they give you a suggestion, chances are that Google will also point you to the competitor products. I want to thank you, Paul, for a great question. And for the listeners at home, have an awesome rest of your day. Go make some great things happen. I'll talk to you again tomorrow.